All right, guys, it is Friday evening, 11:30, 11:37. I'm making this video because it's been a while since I've done one of these night talks, and I figured right now would be a good time. Privacy is always an issue with me as far as getting to make videos in my home, especially when anybody else is here. So I grab the opportunities when I can, even if I don't think I have anything to talk about. But right now, everybody else is inside watching Love is Blind. Yeah. I don't know how anybody can watch those shows. Is that a guilty pleasure for you? Leave a comment down. Leave a comment down below so I can absolutely castigate you for liking that show. I just don't. I'm just kidding, of course. I won't. But I'm curious. There's got to be guys out there who actually like this show because I mean they have men on there who seem like normal men. You know, they're all heterosexual relationships, so I can see so far. I mean, I'm not watching it, but when I pass the room, it seems like it's on all night. They binge watch this stuff and drives me nuts. So I'll go in a room, I'll read, or I'll go to sleep, or do this. I'll do this. So that's why I'm out here, because Love is Blind is on, and I figured why not take advantage of the time of the opportunity. So anyway, I'm actually recording this on my Insta360 X3 camera in the single lens mode. If you don't know much about Insta360 X3, you have a 360 lens where you can record all around you, which I would do if my porch wasn't in such disarray. And if you've seen my mall video where I did my lunchtime talk, you'll see the example that used the 360 camera, where I can pan all around me while I'm talking to you and always come back to whatever I want. But I also have a single lens mode where it works like a normal camera, where it just focuses on what is in front of it, shooting out of one lens. What I like about this is that I can view this through my phone. So I'm holding my phone up in front of you, but I'm also watching everything on it too. I don't know. Yeah, see? Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's really neat. So I don't really have to look there. I can see the bigger picture of this on here. Anyway, it's a really cool thing. I really like it a lot. And I hopefully have enough light on me where I don't have a whole lot of noise showing up in the video. So I've got an ancillary light here, and hopefully it's not too bright. I'm always trying to find the right balance of everything. But anyway, I got 78% battery life. I do have an extra battery, so hopefully I won't run out. I do have a few things I want to talk about. I've actually been meaning to talk about them for a while. So this is, I'm doing this on the fly. I've set this up real quick, so I don't know if I'm going to say everything I'm going to want to say about it. But I'm going to be talking about the behavior of human beings, their inability to know how to act in public. Okay, I'm going to talk about this by way of a discussion about the shopping cart theory. If you've never heard about this, well, then I'd be kind of surprised. It's been floating around, it's been postulated for a while, and I think it has a lot of merit. I think there are some caveats to it. I'll try to include my own, but I'll share this article with you, and I'll bet you that most of you would probably agree with me or agree with this article or some variation thereof. But anyway, before I get very far, let me tell you what I have in my beard tonight. Now, those of you who follow me on a regular basis know that I'm on a journey to grow my beard out and get that 12-month growth going, because I've never actually taken my beard that far, that long, that length. So I'm on a journey to get to the 12-month mark. And I'll have to say, I'm really, I mean, it seems like when I first started not when I first started, but when I made that decision to not trim it anymore, I just felt like I plateaued there for a little bit. I'm like, when is this going to start growing in? But I knew that it would happen like overnight. Like overnight, I'd wake up the next day, wash my beard, put the products in it, And then all of a sudden, when the flips and the curls would show up on the sides of my beard, I knew then that it's going to just take off. And that's what it has done. Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. It really does seem to happen like overnight. I gotta remember to keep my hand away from in front of the light because it's probably casting a shade. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how this is taking off right now. It appears to me so far that it's growing out better than the last time I grew out my long beard. Now, you might wonder, what's the difference? Well, it's just the pattern my beard grows in. I can just tell by the way it's growing out. It's growing more even all over the place. Before, it was just all cattywampus. See, I get these curls, these flips and everything, but it was showing up different on both sides of the face, where now it's showing up very similar on both sides, and there's no difference on the bottom side of it going all the way across. Those of you who've grown your beard out long know exactly what I'm talking about if you've paid attention to it. So I'm happy about that, but if you want to know what I have in my beard tonight, I'm actually using Artist Man's 3-wood beard butter. 3-wood beard butter. Let me try to get a little bit closer with this. Yeah, I am having to check the phone here when I do this. But anyway, beard butter is great. It's a combination of somewhere between beard oil and beard balm. It's real soft. It's creamy. But when you break it down in your hands, you rub it around, you put it through your beard, it leaves your beard feeling very manageable. But at the same time, it helps to keep the flyaways down, but at the same time, it does not leave it stiff like beard balm. And this 3-wood is there. There's nothing else compared to it by anybody else I've ever tried, and I've tried a lot of different things. I have a code. It's Greg20. If you go to artistman.com, you can pick this up or any other thing they have there for 20% off, which is a great deal. It's a great deal. Okay, so I want to approach this topic tonight by asking you if you believe that the way how did I word this? I wrote this down in my notes. Do you think that people's driving habits or the way they, I mean, not that you have to know someone's habits all the way around, but if you watch someone drive their car, do you think it reveals their inner man? Do you think it reveals a lot about them, what kind of person they are? I think it does. I don't think we can be totally right. I don't think it can tell us everything, but we get an idea of who has a regard for human life and human wellness and a sensitivity to others and who doesn't. I mean, you've seen this in traffic. I have a motorcycle. But I'm a very careful biker. Not that I really consider myself a biker, but you know what I mean. For the sake of the conversation, I'm a very careful biker. I'm not a hot rod. I've got a cruiser, so I'm not on a sport bike. I'm also not on a Harley. I don't think I'm bad to the bone. I just enjoy riding. But I have seen plenty of bikers who act like elitists. They act like they can do whatever they want to do. When I see them, at a stoplight behind a car and they're right on their bumper, I feel like I can know what kind of person they are. Or when you're in, you're in a traffic jam on the interstate and they're riding down the middle between cars, even though it is legal in some states, not all the states, but when I see them doing that, I feel like, this person thinks they're special. They think that they're better than everybody. Am I wrong? Maybe. In some cases. Maybe I'm right in a lot of other cases. But I also don't like it when I'm in that same traffic jam and I see a car, which I think is actually worse, a car going down the side that's not a lane to be driving in. You pull off to the side, and you're not supposed to be using that to cut in front of people, and they just go forever. That just drives me insane. But I do believe, I don't have perfect behavior in traffic. And sometimes my questionable behavior might be a reaction to other people, but that's no excuse. But I do think that traffic does tell us something about, I think the way people drive tells us something about them. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. Well, I say just as guilty. I shouldn't say that because there are degrees. There are degrees. And then there are people who drive too cautiously. You know what I'm talking about? The people who stop at a yellow light, or they start slowing down before the light even turns yellow because they're in anticipation of the yellow light occurring, right? So they're too preemptive, too cautious, too careful. They drive too slow. They take the corners a little too slow. Or you get these people who want to wave you out into traffic, which is a horrible idea. It could cause an absolute disaster. It's one of the ways people get killed in traffic is by moving at the behest of a virtuous driver, waving somebody out. Go ahead, go on through, even though there's another lane of traffic over here that doesn't see you. And I don't like those people either. I despise them almost as much as anybody else because I feel like they just want to be seen as being charitable, virtuous. They want to be able to check a box at the end of the day and believe that they've done something good, which makes me think that they're really lacking in something else. Yes, perhaps I am a cynic. I know. I'm probably a cynic to some degree. But you see, I drive all day long. My job is doing just that. I drive from account to account to account all day long. And so I have had plenty of time to think about all of this and certainly have experience racked up on my side of things. Chances are you have too. You don't have to be in traffic very long to notice that. And I think it's everywhere. We like to say that Florida has some of the worst drivers ever. Well, I-4, Interstate 4, is deemed, last time I checked, the most dangerous interstate in the United States. And we like to almost brag about how horrible Florida drivers are because of all the snowbirds that come down. But let's face it, it's every stripe and color of people that behave this way in traffic. It's everywhere. I have a brother that lives in Minnesota, and I have another brother that lives in Washington State. And they send me these videos on Marco Polo, just to kind of keep me, instead of calling me, they send me these videos just to say, hey, how you doing? Here's what's going on with me, while they're driving. I mean, they're not looking at the phone. They're not looking at the camera. But I hear them getting mad at people on the road because they drive just the same way as they do down here. But I do think the way people drive, the way they drive does tell you something about them. But I don't want to just rest there. That's not where I want to park, so to speak. Okay? What I really want to get to is this shopping cart theory that I had mentioned earlier. See, we're taking it from the road to making a pit stop at your local grocery store. Okay? Now, this is where I get really irritated, almost more than I do on the road. Because I can get away. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Maybe that's not it at all. But at the grocery store, I think a grocery store symbolizes, I think a grocery store symbolizes a microcosm of the world as we know it. Okay, the way humans interact, the way humans behave. The way we work together or don't work together, the way we browse, the way we meet our needs, the way we chase what we want. And it can't even be compared to a shopping mall. It's a different atmosphere. The grocery store is almost work to some people, so it represents a microcosm of the world as we know it, in terms of we're getting what we want, we're getting what we need, and in some cases it's work, in other cases it's pleasure, but it's where we have to show up from time to time. Okay, so there's this shopping cart theory that has been talked about quite a bit, and it's not a real old. I mean, it doesn't go back decades. It only goes back just a few years, and so If you go online, look this up. I'm going to read this article. I'm going to try to take my time going through it because this is a take your time kind of a night, take your time kind of a video. So hear me out. There's no reason to be in a rush here. So I want to be very clear, and I would love to get your feedback. So here's what I have found on, let me see what website this is. Scoop.upworthy.com. I'll put a link for this article in the description. And so let me get to right to what it says. All right, it starts off saying the shopping cart theory supposedly determines who is a good person and who isn't. And already you might be thinking, this is going to be good. And it is. It is going to be good. So underneath that's in big, bold, black print. And then, kind of drops down and says, the viral shopping cart theory proposes that an individual's moral character can be determined by whether they choose to return a shopping cart to its designated spot or not. Okay? And then it has this picture. I'm going to post the picture in this video. And if I have, you're looking at it right now. It says they show this man in a parking lot. Looks like he's got one of these walker canes with like the 4 little legs. I guess that's what it is. He's in the middle. He's in the middle of the picture. There's a shopping cart on the left side and a shopping cart corral on the right. These little paths drawn to it. It says, there is no dire emergency. Do you accept your duty to return the cart even though you gain nothing? Okay? Now, this article was originally published on May 20th, 2020. Okay, so it at least goes back to 2020. So here's how the article goes. Listen carefully. There's no right or wrong time to have an existential crisis, and Twitter has found just the perfect way to go down that classic rabbit hole. A tweet by a user named Jared that describes a supposedly character-defining theory took the microblogging platform by storm as others discussed the nuances of the scenario presented. The viral shopping cart theory proposes that an individual's moral character can be determined by whether they choose to return a shopping cart to its designated spot after use, or whether they simply leave it where it suits them. Okay, let that soak in for a second while I take a sip of my Dr. Pepper here. I feel like I should be wearing my Dr. Pepper shirt. Excuse me. That is one of my favorite shirts, by the way. Okay. All right. So, do you do this? When you have a shopping cart, provided that there's a corral in the parking lot? None of this applies if there's not. Okay, but most big shopping centers do have one of these. But do you leave the cart where it is or wherever you want to leave it, or do you actually take it back? All right, let's go on further. Goes on to say, the shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. The post states, to return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. They make a very good point here. We don't really need a law, do we, to determine whether someone's doing right or wrong. It doesn't need to be a law in the books. There's this innate sense of right and wrong within us. It's how God created us. And so it's funny how a shopping cart theory kind of plays into this. That you have this object, you have some sense of responsibility, but maybe not really. But what do you do with it? What kind of it'll put you on the spectrum somewhere. All right, then it goes on to say, Well, this is something I haven't seen before when I read this article. So there's this, so there's this picture of like basically 9 different pictures in one, and it gives you different shopping cart scenarios. Okay, it shows shopping carts back in the store, back in where all the other ones are, not in the corral, but in the inside corral. It says lawful good returned to the store. Neutral good is returned to a corral. That's neutral good. Chaotic good is launched into a corral. Lawful neutral is returned to another store. Lawful neutral is returned to another store because they show this blue car. They show a blue shopping cart in a store that has obviously red shopping carts. That's funny. That is funny. True neutral is returned to the poor. In other words, you just hand it off to a homeless person or something. That's what it looks like here. Chaotic neutral is returned to nature. Chaotic neutral, return to nature. They're showing a shopping cart just kind of like the two front wheels are just kind of propped up on a curb in the mulch. Lawful evil is unreturned but neatly stacked. Lawful evil. I don't know if that really is lawful evil. I mean, at least they're grouping the shopping carts. They're still in the parking lot. They're not in the corral, but they're with other shopping carts. It's like they found their homies. Neutral evil is left in a parking space. Chaotic evil is returned to a culvert. They do show a shopping cart in the water. It's like thrown into the culvert. It's funny. I've seen these pictures, these memes of where someone has taken a zip tie and fastened the handle or a part of the cart to someone's door handle to get back at them for some kind of unlawful shopping cart incident. And I see things like that and I go, I wish I had never seen that because I'm so tempted to do that. So tempted. Okay, let's go on down. Let's see what else it has to say about this. All right. The author of the shopping cart theory continues, no one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you, or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do, because it is correct. The theoretician then goes on to make some rather radical statements about those who do not pass the shopping cart test. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them with the law and the force that stands behind it, they state. That's funny, but I get his point. I mean, if you think about it to its logical conclusion, these probably are the same people that will do no more than they have to and will only do as much as a heavy persuasion would call for. Whatever means that might be. I get it. And you don't want to think that you have to push people that far. We want people to be able to self-govern themselves. Well, that's redundant. You want people to be able to self-govern and make decisions that are good for the whole, right? Then it goes on down to say, the shopping cart is what determines whether a person is a good or bad member of society, the theory concludes. Although at face value, the shopping cart theory might come across as an extreme mode of judging one's character, and it takes on a different meaning when you equate it with those who strictly follow social distancing measures for the safety and well-being of every member of society, and those who are willing to toss the vulnerable aside. After tossing a multitude of arguments and counter-arguments, the majority on Twitter voted in agreement with the theory, with many retail workers presenting their personal experiences to make the case. Twitter user at the Headhunter44 wrote, "This is true. I'm the cart guy at a grocery store, and I can confirm that I look down at you when I see you abandon the carts. Please, for the love of God and man and all that is right with the world," and he puts this in all caps, return your cart. You're not helping anything by ditching it. Please. Another user at Mercedes Tractor tweeted, I worked at a grocery store in the past, and you'd be absolutely shocked at how many people don't. Even worse, often they'll likely kick it up on the curb so it doesn't roll away, meaning they literally put effort into not returning it. Good point. Very good point. I mean, I see this all the time. I do. I see this all the time in the parking because I pay attention to it, probably more than I should, and it might make me judgmental, but I do pay attention to this, and I see people. They'll take their cart. The corral is literally like 5 steps away, but they will take their cart. You know how grocery store parking lots have that slant to them for the sake of water runoff. So the carts tend to roll, don't they? We've all seen these runaway cars. All right. So they'll do this balancing act with the cart and like get it just right, and just move it here and there, just budge it a little bit here and a little bit more this way, get right, and they'll watch it and they'll walk away. Some people walk away, it starts to roll down the hill, and they don't even care. I've seen them crash into cars, and yeah, but it actually takes more work to do that than just to walk into the corral where it's safe. They have measures in place to make sure they don't roll off. In fact, I was sitting in a Subway at a Publix grocery store plaza. I was sitting in Subway, and there's a family right behind me at a table, and we all watched this little grocery cart just roll on past the window and crash into a truck. It didn't do any harm because it was a small grocery cart and it happened to hit the bumper. But it could have turned out differently. And the people were looking at the woman who did it and going, I can't believe she actually saw the cart going and she didn't do anything to stop it. She reacted to it and she was like, oh no, but did not do anything about it. Isn't that worse? I swear. Listen, I swear that I think a lot of people are just garbage human beings. And I'm going to qualify that a little bit more here in a little bit. All right. Now, someone, I guess this is on Twitter, named at Becca Boo. She says, I don't know. I just feel like as someone who once worked a retail job, I might not be required to put it back, but the guy working would really appreciate it, so I might as well make someone else's day easier. I don't know. It's more about respect for the worker and not the unspoken societal law. That's very well put. That's very well put. This is a person. This person's obviously not a narcissist. She's just thinking about the other person, not knowing whether it will really affect them or not, but doing it just because, hey, you know what? It's a nice touch. It's a nice touch. It is revealing, right? And then someone responded to her. This is at Naya Hoarder, responded to Becca Boo. They said, I mean, yeah, that's the idea. Having that level of respect and consideration for a stranger is what makes you a good member of society. Okay, I agree. Then at Lost in the Forest tweeted, LOL, the people bashing the test don't like what it says about themselves or cannot admit to themselves that they are actually inconsiderate jerks. So apparently they got some blowback, and a lot of people, had something to say about it from the other side of the grocery cart. All right. So at Wingspan TT says, I think most people return the carts 90% of the time, but the collective 10% missteps of society make us think there are a lot more 100% cart abandoners than there really are. I don't know if I agree with that or not. Do you think 90% of the people return their carts to the shopping corral, or the cart corral? I think his estimate's really high. I think it's optimistic, but I think it's a little too high. And then Josh at Josh_Lunds, he says, as someone who worked in the cart crew at a Walmart for a couple of months, no. The majority definitely leaves carts in the parking lot or outside of the corral. I've witnessed people launch carts into other cars just to get it away from theirs. Can you imagine? just to get it away from there to launch it into another car. No, I believe it. I believe it. I don't know that I've seen that, but I believe it. Okay. Now the article itself goes on to say, meanwhile, some users pointed out that returning a shopping cart, although a simple enough job for most, might be a bigger deal for those with disabilities or those suffering from chronic illness or pain. I have a few thoughts about that, but there's a few more Twitter responses that I don't remember what it says, so I'm going to go down here and see if they actually address it. So, at Ashley M. Boyer says, how about we don't judge someone's character based on physical ability? Like ever. I can see an instance where someone with a chronic condition has a flare-up and it's all they can do to get the cart to their car. So, Cleo the Muse responds, this lady, she responds, thank you. Before I was disabled, I always returned my cart and nearby strays too. It sounds like she's talking about cats. Now I'm often out of strength by the time I get back to the car. I usually try to park next to a cart corral, but sometimes I have to ditch the cart. I'm sure people just assume I'm lazy, but I'm in pain. Okay, here's my thoughts on that. It's the wording that they used in these tweets that makes me feel like I can't really agree with them wholeheartedly. To some degree I can. But she talks about a flare-up. Well, I mean, really, like, that's a real convenient time to have a flare-up. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. And I'm not saying people with disabilities should always be concerned about returning the cart to the corral. But I would never, it's something to take into consideration. But, most of the time you're going to cast a judgment on someone is when you see them not return the cart to the corral and they look very, very able, right? If someone looks disabled, whatever, you're not going to think anything of it. The majority, probably 90% of the people, are not going to think anything of it. But yeah, I'm not so sure I'm on their side completely, but I do get their point, and I think you do have to kind of be a little lenient and consider the possibilities. I will go, well, let me go on further because I want to share more thoughts on that, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So the article goes on to say, unsurprisingly, there were some pompous souls who claimed to leave the carts anywhere but the designated spots to give retail workers more work, and thereby their uninformed and entitled logic, and thereby by their uninformed and entitled logic, more income. So in other words, this is job security for you if I don't take care of my cart, all right? It's like those people who go to McDonald's or Wendy's or Burger King and leave their mess all over the table. Because that's your job. If I did it, you wouldn't have a job. I am doing you a favor. That's a garbage human being. It really is. I don't apologize about that. But that's the same kind of mentality. So what do you think? Is the shopping cart theory an efficient gauge of someone's moral character? That's the article speaking. Let me see if there's yeah, that's the end of the article. Okay, so here's my further thoughts on this. What are the caveats to all of that would make us think of a person as being less horrible than what we initially would in this event? Well, I mean, okay, so someone might have a disability. It might seem apparent that they're struggling. That might be one thing. Another thing is if a mother, let's say a mother is out shopping with her small children, and maybe one is in the seat of the cart, and then another one is hanging on to the back, riding the back of the cart like I used to love to do when I was a kid. And another one is holding on to the side, hopefully, I would never expect a mother, even with just one child, to have to, finagle all that, even to hold a child in an arm and return it to the corral. I would never judge that. I don't. So you see, there are caveats to this. The other is if there's like at the local Publix. Publix is a big grocery store chain down here in Florida, I think in Georgia and North Carolina, and it's one of the finest grocery stores in my opinion, one of the best. I actually used to work for Publix years ago, and but they have plenty. They usually have plenty of shopping cart corrals. But you go to some places and they're far and few between. I don't expect someone to cross several lanes of parking spaces to go take care of that. So there is caveats. But here's the thing. I don't think we're really talking about the nuances here. I think we're talking about the apparent abandonment of scruples. Correct? I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to. That's, in my opinion. I'm going to put the laptop aside here. So, yeah, I do think that the shopping cart theory has some merit. I do think that it like I said, it's a microcosm of the world we live in. I mean, if we look at that and go, if people are no more willing to participate and see something all the way to the end, how much more would they be useful in a society where we're reliant upon each other to stay safe and cohesive? Did any of that make sense? I mean, it is like 12:15 now, so maybe it's just a bunch of gobbledygook here. But I mean, I think it makes sense. I think the other thing, let me take this a little bit further. Let me take this just a little bit further. Humor me for a few minutes here. This video is not far from being over. There's a couple of things tied to the whole grocery store thing that bother me, that also to me are just as revealing as what people do with a shopping cart. And actually, these things I'm getting ready to tell you about bother me more. Well, not one so much as the other, but here's what it is. I can't stand it when people pick up an item, they put it in their cart, they have it in their hand, they walk to the store, they get it in one aisle. Let's say they go get marinara sauce out of one aisle, and they walk down another aisle, maybe 2 or 3 aisles over, and they decide, I don't want this. I thought it was hot sauce. I don't need this. I'm not going to buy it. They just stick it wherever they're at. They don't take care of it and put it in their place. Now, people would go, well, they have stock boys or whoever. They have stocking personnel to take care of all that. I'm not talking about people who wear stockings. I'm just saying people who actually stock the shelves. All right. So that would be the same as well. I'm ensuring job security. No, I mean, come on. Listen, see something all the way through to the end, because it does tell something about you. So it gets on my nerves. And I don't think that's really real horrible, but you do see it. I don't want to see, I just, it annoys me when I go into a changing room and people just leave clothes flung on the floor that they didn't want. There are some places that are worse than others. And then, a lot of times you have personnel that are there to quickly pick up all that stuff. Target's usually pretty good about it. Places like Kohl's, nah, forget it. They don't do that. At least not the ones I'm in. And there's just absolute disaster areas. But it just kind of tells you something about the people. But this last thing gets my goat more than anything else. I can't stand it when people go into a grocery store and I see all kinds of different people doing it. It's not one particular kind. They'll pick up a food item. They'll pick up a package. They'll open it up and they'll start to eat it or pop the cap and start to drink it. No. That's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. And I don't dare say anything, not in this day and age. There might have been time when I would. Maybe I have. But I can guarantee you, people would be like, well, people would say things like, well, I was going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it when you get up there. Don't worry about it. And, or I've seen mothers do it with their small children. Well, I've seen fathers do it with their small children too, to keep them quiet. They get up there and they take this, they scan the empty package. And I'm just grates my nerves. Like, who do you think you are, consuming something before you pay for it? That's not how the grocery store system is set up to work. I mean, they'll tolerate it because they don't feel like dealing with you as a garbage human being. I was in Publix the other day, and if you go to the section where they have all the fried chicken, where they actually fry the chicken, and the deli area. And oh, their chicken is so good. If you haven't had Publix chicken, you don't know what you're missing. But anyway, so they have like the little popcorn chicken in these little small containers, and then you just pop the top. Anyway, I saw a guy walk through the store the other day. He opened it up and it was just like, it was like M&Ms to him. He goes up to the front. He's actually in front of me when he goes to pay for his stuff, and he scans this empty thing, this empty container. I'm like, and he looked like a businessman. He looked like a business professional. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you do, but you wouldn't get my business. If you ask me why, and that's the only reason I stated, I'm not sure I could articulate myself well enough to, pin everything on that one argument, but it still wouldn't sway how I feel any differently. So I think grocery stores are a very revealing place. Do you agree with that or not? Am I alone in this? I don't think so. I don't think I am. Oh, there's my cat. I have a cat in here he's spooked by something on the other side of the screen. Maybe I should be too. I don't know. I can't see what's out there. I'm totally, everything's just complete blackness out there, but these things get spooked easy anyway. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on the shopping cart theory. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. Now I've had my opportunity. I've enjoyed it. And it's a sort of a way to calmly vent how I feel about the whole thing. Chances are you guys have, developed the same kind of theories independent of this article yourself. So anyway, leave me your thoughts down below. If you have a parallel example of this, put it down in the description. I would love to hear another example that is very similar to this that I wouldn't have thought of before. So put that down below. Just give me your thoughts. If you don't agree with me, you can tell me you don't agree with me, but because you might be one of those people who does this. But if you are, bear in mind, if you haven't thought of it before, realize that people do think this way. You might say to yourself, well, I don't care what you think. Well, see, that might be part of the problem. That's exactly what we're talking about. So anyway, yes, this is a long video. I meant for it to be a long video. It's just a kind of a back porch, late night talk, kind of casual. It's a way for me to kill some time while they watch these stupid shows. Gets on my nerves. I can't. I don't hardly watch any TV at all. And it hit me the other day. It dawned on me the other day. I haven't really watched TV in years. Like, I'll binge watch something every once in a while. Like I used to binge watch House of Cards, The Walking Dead. Oh, what else? Survivor. But I don't watch it on TV like when it's broadcasting as a premiere. I don't watch that stuff like that. Breaking Bad, Ozark, things like that. Great television shows. Well, Survivor's not anymore. Survivor's garbage now. I'm using that word a lot tonight, aren't I? But Survivor sucks now because it's all woke and everything. And when I turned it on there the other day, everybody's weak. Every character is weak on there. There's no man on there that looks like a real man, that acts like a real man. And no, I haven't got time for that. A couple of seasons ago, I didn't mean to get off on this, but a couple of seasons ago, they were just starting off. I think they were approaching their first game, or whatever you want to call it, elimination round, or what you want to call it. They had a discussion on pronouns and should we use the proper pronoun. I don't have time. I immediately turn and go, I'm done. But anyway, don't forget to check out Artios Man. Use my code Greg20 if you have a beard. That is, if you have a beard. If you know somebody, if you're watching this, you know somebody who has a beard, and you think I'd really like to do something nice for them, Get them some 3-wood beard butter, because this stuff is just great. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like the video. And I think that's it. I think that just use your head. Use your head when you're out in public, and realize that everything that you do says something about you. All right? That's no joke. You take that seriously. Some people don't want to think of themselves as being having to or needing to be responsible in that way, but buckle up, Buttercup. Put a helmet on. That is the way life works. Somebody's watching you. And we are looking. We are paying attention. We are paying attention to what goes on around us like this. Because we want to know. We want to know that there are still good people out there. Don't we? That's why we do it. We're not doing it just to be judgmental, just to be critical or cynical. It gives us hope. All right. Be responsible. Do the right thing. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for joining me. Have a great night. Be wise.